Often a great idea can fail for a long time. In fact, Shazam actually barely had any users for 6 years after we launched. What I think about for my son in terms of choosing a university is that it's when you look at the ones that have a great reputation, it's more about who you're going to be around, I think, in terms of the impact on you and the experience. It's not like by attending UC Berkeley, that's it. I learn a bunch of things that enable me to be an amazing entrepreneur. Really the entrepreneurial success, I believe, comes from.
Hi everyone. It ever happened to you to have an idea? Those moments when you have a beautiful idea and you say, "Oh, I'm going to make it," but then next day you are saying to yourself, "Oh, but who am I to do this in the world?" Or you think, "Oh, but there is also a lot of competition there outside in the world." Or maybe you say this, you share this with one of your friends, and your friend is saying, "Oh, no, this is not going to work. Already other people did it." Or how do you think you're going to do it? You are too old, or you're too young, or you don't have the money, or whatever. And then what is happening? After this, you get this idea, you put it in a drawer, and you just leave it there. And today we are going to have a short lesson about how to create your idea from impossible, from the beginning, when you think it's too late, it's too hard, I'm not gonna make it, to possible. And for this, I have today with me a person who made his idea from impossible to possible, a person who heard many times, "No, your idea is impossible," even from the greatest minds, from the biggest universities in the world, and even from other people like entrepreneurs who made their money, and they said, "No, this is impossible." So we have today the founder of Shazam, Chris Barton. Thank you, Barton. Thank you, Chris, for being with us today and helping us with your beautiful mindset.
Thanks for having me, Leah. Yeah.
Chris, as I'm working with teenagers around the world, from Africa, United States, and Europe, I want to ask you, how do you make, what is the fuel that keeps you to go further with your idea, even when nobody believes in you? But because when you started Shazam, and when you invented that Shazam, we didn't have all these smartphones, App Store this didn't exist. So what is the story? Like, what are the ingredients?
Yeah. I think for me, it's as an analogy, it's a bit like compared if you compare it to an artist, because I'm definitely not an artist. But if you think about it, an artist thinks, "Oh, I have this idea for a painting I want to create," and then if they have the idea and then they put all the work into creating a beautiful painting, and they're creating this thing that kind of then lives on without them, right? It can then sit on the wall for someone that can enjoy it. Different people can enjoy it, or a musician that has an idea for an amazing song, and then they write the lyrics and they put together this song. I realized that I don't have any particular talents to write a song or to sing or to paint a painting. Many of the things that artists do, and so my form of art is that I thought I would be good at with my own strengths was to create a product, a business. I believe that a product and a business is like its own form of art. In a way, it's like a painting or a song. Obviously, a little bit different, but because it involves people and customers and marketing and business models, and it's so complex because when you create a great product or a business, it continues to live on through the success of having customers who enjoy the products, and then that brings in money that allows the employees to keep evolving the products and so on. And so that was really what I identified as my art form. Really, what I would just call entrepreneurship. But I guess what I was most attracted to, because of course I could create a business that's just like another business that's similar to businesses out there, right? Another laundromat or another, whatever it is, restaurant or something. And those would all be great creations, and you could definitely create unique restaurants and unique laundromats. But I like the idea of creating something that didn't exist. That was really something that it was attractive to me, to kind of invent and create something new in the world that then becomes a business. And so that is really probably the core motivation for me was in creating Shazam, and even the new startups that I work on today, is to create things that don't exist and that can be really delightful. And by the way, I should mention that when I say don't exist, I mean don't exist in the ideal form. I mean, one example I always like to mention is that Amazon, which is obviously a very successful company, they started off as a bookstore only on the internet, and when they launched, they were actually the 16th bookstore. So they weren't. It's not about being the first. It's just that the first 15 were clearly not very successful. Sometimes it's about doing it just right, right? So just like there might be people who paint paintings before you or write songs before you. It's about making the product and the business just right, and so that it's so delightful for customers and it succeeds. So that's what motivates me, and I tend to, as you mentioned, it's not easy. You face many barriers, many obstacles, and I loved how you opened up. It is amazing how many things you face that could make you give up right away, right? I mean, from people telling you it can't be done. In the case of Shazam, there was no technology that could identify songs in a noisy environment. So, when most people, if professors and PhDs tell you, nope, that's not possible, they just give up. But I kind of thought, no, I'm just going to find the smartest one to invent this technology. So actually, I often think that when someone says no, or someone says it can't be done, for me, that actually makes me more motivated, not less motivated, but more motivated. I think now I really want to do this. I love the fact that it's so hard that people think it can't be done, and that makes it feel even more unique when I succeed.
Hmm. But Chris, how do you know when? Because there might be also ideas that maybe are not good ideas, and it's really something like it's important, like to know when to stop from your idea. How do you? What would you say to a person that maybe is in this place? Maybe my idea is one of the ideas that would go out in the world, or it's something actually that will not work at all. Like when do you know how to make the difference? Or how do you know how to make the difference?
That's a great question. And, I think it's part of the art form of entrepreneurship, is to figure that out. And often a great idea can fail for a long time. In fact, Shazam actually barely had any users for 6 years after we launched. So often, and I know there's many stories. I love to read and learn about the stories of other successful companies, to learn from their struggles. And it's amazing. You'd be amazed at how many companies really, really struggled in the early years, and it didn't seem, even what's now a hugely successful idea, it doesn't always take off right away. So the early indications sometimes tell you, oh, maybe this isn't such a good idea. I know that was true in the early days of Dropbox. They were trying marketing and it wasn't working. And if I just listened to a great podcast called Acquired about the early days of Google, and same kind of thing, you'd think like the original Google algorithm would be such a winner that it would just be an instant success. But no, they were having trouble getting anyone interested. And it was really, challenging in those early days. So I think it's often the early signals are not necessarily, it's not the case that you just immediately get like validation, like, oh, wow, this is a massive success. Often finding ways to tweak your product and get it to be just right, but also find ways to get the adoption, the reach, the marketing, all those things are creative challenges for the entrepreneurs. And so your question is, how do you know, because of course, it would be a big mistake if you're putting all these years into trying to figure out how to make a product and get adoption of a product that actually really there's no market for and really no one wants. And that would be a tragedy. And I do think that's a difficult thing to know when to give up and move on to something else versus when not to give up, and when to keep trying. But I think, at its root, what you need to do is just really understand, is your product amazing for some people? Like, do you find that some people think, wow, that when Dropbox showed its product to certain people, they said, wow, this is so useful. When Google search, you could see, wow, this gets so much better results than the other search engines. And in the case of Shazam, we would show our demo to people and they would, wow, that I would use that all the time. So you have that a little bit of validation, maybe one-on-one with people, and you can ask for their feedback. I think it's important for entrepreneurs to not only be confident, but also be very open and humble to feedback. And so really asking people, what do you think of this? What could be better? What don't you like about it? Really open to criticism, so that you can learn how to uh, make your products even better. But just knowing in your heart, is there something really there? You do, the more progress you make, the more you can really get a sense for, is there something there? And then no, and then if you feel like there is something there, of course, by asking other people, not just yourself, then that becomes the signal that you should keep pursuing it. Don't give up.
So this means actually what you shared on the stage at URLS. I heard saying you that I kept when people told me no, it's impossible. What I've done, so the thing that kept me going, it was my connection with the emotion. So this means actually this means like connecting myself with the emotion of the, I don't know, the customer who says like, wow, this is extraordinary, I need this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I call it connect to emotions. Yeah, and so yeah, it's feeling a personal connection. I sometimes think that we sometimes think that we have our personal lives and then our professional lives. And obviously, when it's your personal life, you care. You really care about your friends and your pets, that you love, and your home. It matters a lot. And then you have your professional lives, and often we think that is like more, we have a little bit draw a line. Sometimes we think, oh, that's just how I make a living, so I do this job and it's how I make a living. But I think when you really want, when any entrepreneur, or anyone in a business that's working in a company or a job of any type, not just entrepreneurs, when they really want their business, their profession, whatever they're doing to impact the world, when they want it to be amazing, you have to connect those two worlds, the personal life and the professional life, and you have to bring the same passion that you would have in your personal life to the professional life. And I call that connect to emotions. And I believe it comes from just thinking about, it's kind of 3 steps. It's thinking about what you do, you're professionally doing, thinking about how it's impacting others, and then feeling the impact of what you do. And then you kind of are able to sort of connect to your emotions. And it's when you really are personally connected and emotionally connected to what you're doing professionally, that's when you care so much, right? Because you would go out of your way to help your friends, right? So you should go out of your way in your professional life to improve that product or to delight your customers more. It should be just as important to you at a personal level. And I think that's what leads to the companies and organizations and the products that are so amazing, is that the people behind them, whether they're founders or employees, are so personally connected, emotionally connected to what they were doing.
I find it so true to what you're saying. Yeah, it's true and it's working when you're connected with the emotion of your future clients or your clients or your customers, and yeah, it's working. Um, I want to ask you something. What about how much the success or the graduation, the fact that you had a diploma from Berkeley, because you graduated from Berkeley, helped you in creating your idea, creating Shazam?
Well, let's see.
Because I want like my just to know behind what is like what I want to find out. It is enough actually to go only to a fancy university, like to a big or a top university, or it's more than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more than just going to a fancy university. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's the benefits that I experienced in going to Berkeley. Obviously a great education, and more importantly, I think the people that I met and being part of a group of people that had great aspirations and what they've achieved. I think that's often what I think about for my son in terms of choosing a university. Is that it's when you look at the ones that have a great reputation, it's more about who you're going to be around, I think, in terms of the impact on you and the experience. But yeah, no, clearly, like it's not like by attending UC Berkeley, that's it. I learn a bunch of things that enable me to be an amazing entrepreneur. Really the entrepreneurial success, I believe, comes from, the desire, the passion, the vision, the personal goals. Um, and I actually am a big believer and again, you have to have the interest level, but I'm a big believer in what I call game tape. It's an idea that's drawn from sports, in professional sports in the United States. Like it's famous that some of the best basketball players, they watch lots of game tape, which basically just means videos of the games that they played in and other games, so they can really analyze, oh, what did I do right, what did I do wrong, and what are these other players doing, and how could I improve? And that's called game tape. And I believe that same thing, there's a game tape for everything, really. And there's a game tape for entrepreneurs where I watch thousands of interviews of entrepreneurs. I love to watch them on YouTube or listen to them in podcasts and just learn from their experiences, even though they're different companies, different products. But hearing all the stories of what they faced, how they thought about things, what they did, was incredible learning for me. And I think that game tape happens as I said, in every area. So no matter what a student wants, whether a student wants to be a biologist or a writer or a journalist or anything, there's a game tape in that where you can learn from the others before you and learn from what they did and why they did things and what they experienced and the hard times they experienced and so on. And that's so you become so enriched through that. And so, yeah, so that's another big part in addition to attending Berkeley University.
So role modeling, it's like you role model, like you heard what other people are doing, how they faced challenges, like it's like role modeling another person or learning from their way.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I would say the one difference I would point out is that I think of role models as where you kind of pick one or two people that you want to emulate. I'm sure many people would pick, like in entrepreneurial world, that many people would pick like Steve Jobs or something. But this is a little bit different in that I think with game tape you actually learn from many people. So yeah, I mean, in a way you're saying that they're all like role models, right? Because you're learning from them, but you're not just picking one or two and just trying to emulate those one or two role models. Or you're really you can learn from thousands of different people that have done something. So if you want to be a biologist, there's thousands of biologists out there, and it doesn't have to be that you pick one or two as the role models, but I think there's little stories and things that you can learn from so many.
And from your opinion, what does it make someone to be successful? Or what do you think success is built on? Because students, teenagers and youth today, actually what they want, they go to universities, but actually what they want is not like the diploma, the university diploma. Actually what they are looking for is a well-paid career, and to have also a career that they like, that they love, and also to have the money in order to do the travelings and have time for their hobbies. So actually this is the type of success that youth are mentioning that they want from all my research that I've done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mean, it's, one of the hard things I recall is that it's trying to figure out what you enjoy, right? And it's hard to know. And I think that when you're university age youth and you're trying to find that next career, you're going to be most successful, most likely in a career where you really care, you're passionate about it, and you enjoy what you're doing. Then you tend to put more into it, and so. I think that's the key is to really learn about these different careers that you can do and you can pursue, and to dip your toe into them, get an internship or meet other students that are doing it, or meet people that have just graduated and now they're doing it, and to so that you can find and match up these different opportunities and then pursue your own success story in that career. And also with things changing, I mean, with AI changing everything, wow, the speed at which things are changing, I think means that you have to do that even more, really, to really understand how are all these careers, how are they going to transition with as AI kind of redefines, what is needed and the key roles that people are playing in jobs in this AI world that we're moving into.
Mhm. I love the way that you mentioned it. You in the AI world, you need to become even more, which is true. Yeah.
Yeah, more absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, because we're the nice thing is that we as human beings are unique from AI. Ultimately, we still bring the personal human aspect to it, and so it's really it's an opportunity to think about what are the human aspects that I can really where I can maybe embrace AI and really make a success out of a specific career, because AI is available, but you still need the human aspect, and what are the human aspects that I can bring in and that really make a difference.
Mm. And the last question would be for you. What do you think that universities are missing, like today, in preparing students for real world?
Yeah, I think I think anything I think having more opportunities for students to really get to know each other, to really learn from each other, to really connect with each other, and basically do more than kind of simply go to class and raise their hands and participate, and study the academic materials, but to have an experience that shifts your life, shifts your perspective, and that comes again from the human aspect. I always say that the actual content, you really could learn on nowadays more and more on in a digital form, right? On YouTube or on whatever it is, digital learning platforms. But often the inspiration, the thing that really it creates the eye-opening insights and creates the root motivations that people relate to comes from the human connection part. And I think so anything that can help enable that within the university experience is transformative for the students.
Well, what do you think about the mindset, like cultivating a successful mindset? Because also, for example, from your experience, I don't know, how did you manage to cultivate this mindset of, okay, I receive a lot of no's, but I'm going further anyway? Because I don't know, maybe your parents, or from where did you get this mindset to cultivate it? Because usually people, like normal, like people, when someone is saying no, they're saying, okay, he said no.
Yeah. I think I get a little bit from that game tape thing I mentioned, from being inspired by other people, and it's what I just find inspiring. When I hear the stories of people that are doing something that and then what the difficulties they faced and how they overcame it, it inspires me. It gives me fuel. Um, I definitely had. I've always had ever since I was a child, sort of this creative mindset of wanting to create things, and also a little bit uh, uh, very or quite persistent. I just I always like to just keep trying, and not give up. And I think it came a little bit from um, being dyslexic, and so struggling with what's easier for many people in academics. It often forces you to kind of develop other skills and find your what you are good at, and like how can you lean in on what you are good at to make up for what you're not so good at. Um, it teaches you to form resilience, and not you get used to being knocked down and just standing back up. So it's really hard to spot exactly why I developed all that kind of all those kind of traits that are valuable. But I do think that ultimately, learning to be persistent, resilient, and determined. These are core things that are so valuable to students, because those are often the things that really differentiate the ones that are more successful from the rest. Is those traits.
But Chris, when someone, for example, told you no, or you had a struggle, a challenge, did you practice something specific? Like people today are talking about breathing, doing the breathing exercise, or going to a meditation, or did you have like something practical that you were doing, or it was just mindset, shifting your mindset? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
I didn't have any thing that I can think of. I mean, I like to. I like to exercise and go jogging and running and things like that. Um, I think it just voracious curiosity, is one thing. I mean, it was not a practice that I have, but I just love to just learn about what other people have done and what they're doing. But no, there's no specific practice on breathing or mindfulness or anything that I knowingly did. But I'm sure I had all kinds of habits that are just my own things that I picked up. Getting enough sleep. That's always when I'm always like, I need to have enough sleep so my head is fresh and my brain is clear. And no, but I think communicating with people in an open way to really, really hear them, I think is really key. Not get too tunnel vision, but really hear what people say and really think about the different ideas you hear and the different perspectives. I think keeping an open mind has always been core for me.
And Chris, what would be your message for these people, youth in general, who they have this kind of beautiful ideas, but they put them in their drawer just because they believe that they are not enough, or it's too difficult, too hard, I will not make it. Who am I to make it? So what is the message that you have for those who want to succeed, but put their ideas apart?
Yeah, the main message is, that you really find that idea that you really care about, and that you really believe needs to be done in a way that hasn't been done. Identify what you really think is the insight that you have that others are not seeing, because often there's some insight that you see that's just not seen by most people, that will make it successful, and then really see it through. Stick with it, because it is you need to realize that it won't be easy. It's not going to happen tomorrow. You don't have overnight success. But if you continue to evaluate the idea and test it out and see how people respond to it, and you continue to see validation that there's an opportunity there, it's the resilience, the persistence, the sticking with it, that keep iterating on it and don't give up and find a way to keep it going, and then it's amazing what you can bring it to over a period of time.
Thank you, Chris. I don't have any other questions. It was wonderful, everything that you mentioned for people who have ideas, but they put their ideas in their drawers. As Chris said, if you want to become more of who you are, not like to transform yourself in another person that you are not, or to copy and just another person. So if you want just to get the beautiful things that you have already inside you, because everyone has qualities, and to put them out in the world, I would recommend you to listen again this podcast, this episode, and this material, and just to have a paper and a pen, and to see, just to put here, like, what is something that I want to take from what Chris mentioned to us, and what is something that you are connecting with, and you can get to put it into action, starting with today, with now, not with tomorrow, with now. Because only in this way, getting into action and getting something specific from what you are listening, you are going to be more and to achieve the goals that you want. Thank you, Chris, again.
Thanks you. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Leah.